It's been more than a year since the Datpiff archive vanished, and we still have no answers. This is like a tragedy for hip-hop, and like the new kids might not even realize how big of a tragedy it is, because this is a whole era worth of hip-hop just vanished, wiped clean from the slate, as if it never happened for most people moving forward. And here's a comment that sums it up pretty nicely. I'm genuinely distraught over this. This is such a massive loss for the genre's history that it's almost impossible to grasp. Somebody replies to that saying, yeah, this is horrible. The Library of Alexandria for 2000s to early 10s rap. I hope similar websites are taking precautions and making backups because of this. Almost as bleak as how little the larger music media cared. Like it says in the article, the story died almost immediately. All these people and publications made so much money off of rap, but they'll throw it in the trash the minute it's not trendy. It's not surprising exactly, but to really see the indifference of the mainstream machine in action as it casually sweeps away what's left of something that was truly important to a lot of people is still galling. Laying it on a little thick, but I can't blame them because it is pretty tragic. I mean, luckily I kind of was anticipating something like this happening, at least personally, like losing music files that I can't find again, or like, you know, albums I downloaded in 9th grade. Like, how am I gonna hold on to these files for my whole life? It's like nearly impossible, right? So I've got backups and whatnot, and luckily iCloud makes it nice because things get uploaded to the cloud. Your downloads, your MP3s that you put into your library just stay in the cloud. But I grew up in that era, and I happen to have downloaded a lot of these mixtapes, the ones that I care about, the ones that I love. Not nearly even close to all of them or anything like that, but at least I personally have the ones that I love. Every year, more and more of these mixtapes get uploaded to streaming services. The artist takes it upon themselves to get the samples cleared and get them uploaded, mostly all in their original form. More and more of those are popping up on Spotify and Apple Music every year. So, you know, shout out Mac Miller, shout out Wiz Khalifa, and all the other people that have done that. Big Crit, you know, putting these mixtapes, their old mixtapes on Spotify and Apple Music and whatnot. It's essential now more than ever. Well, I guess there's also a big push against streaming services, so I don't know. If you're morally against streaming services like Apple Music, I am morally against Spotify, to be honest. Horrible company, horrible streaming service too. Even if they were saving the world, I still wouldn't use them because the app sucks. But if you don't mind using streaming services, what's my point? What was I talking about? I don't know. I'm moving on. All right, hip-hop's 50th was a big bombastic year of celebratory write-ups, Mass Appeal announcements that went nowhere. Yeah, wait, remember that, guys? Mass Appeal was doing like a 50th anniversary of hip-hop album series, and there was going to be one for like 7 different producers, but then they never did it. They never followed through it. They did one with DJ Premier and one with Swizz Beatz, and they were good. There was supposed to be one with Timbaland, there was supposed to be one with other essential producers in hip-hop, but it didn't actually ever fully materialize. Yeah, it's funny. Mass Appeal announcements that went nowhere, and a general feeling that great things were still to come. Jason England's 50 years later, Is There Anything Left of Hip-Hop? A follow-up to Greg Tate's Hip Hop Turns 30 summarized the year eloquently. The mainstream press has never paid hip-hop more attention than in this moment, yet has never seemed less informed or less invested in examining and explicating what lies before it. Still, we got a Sprite commercial out of it, which has to stand for something, right? Fast forward 2+ years, and all of the lists and ad campaigns have not been enough to stave off the feeling that the genre's midlife crisis is not going well. The number one watchers and pundits went through an existential crisis following a Billboard charting shakeup. Rappers now have to go on Kai Cenat streams for relevance, and as I had the distinct displeasure of announcing in the early fall of 2024, the much touted Datpiff archive had vanished. 2 years earlier, I had the pleasure of announcing that Overdose's long lost Bow Ties and Rosaries was available for download again. For those of you who missed the story, let me get you up to speed. Towards the end of 2022, Datpiff.com began to have server outages, making the site unusable for days on end. Eventually, the site went offline for good. Towards the end of 2023, after having confirmed the company was not dead, it was announced that Datpiff would upload its collection to the Internet Archive while working away on the next iteration of Datpiff. The news spread widely, but answers were scant, and the questions being asked were even less robust. Why was the Internet Archive a good choice, given that it was being sued 6 ways to Sunday by major entertainment industry actors? Why was the whole collection supposedly just over 350,000 items, given that Datpiff had been online since 2006 and was the premier mixtape site on a global scale, often calling itself the Mixtape Authority? What was the next iteration? Post announcing the completion of the archive's upload. No matter, the good news was enough to generate excitement. Datpiff uploaded its allegedly complete archive in early 2024, never communicating anything about the process, nor even sending out an obligatory "it's complete" tweet. Problems emerged not long after. Despite 2024 being an obnoxiously busy year for me, I tried to keep up with the archive by checking it a few times a week. Beginning in the earlier part of the summer, I've noticed that the Datpiff archive, which had its own page for a while alongside its user page, the latter is pictured below, was being integrated into the Internet Archive's pre-existing mixtape archive, which housed about 10,000 plus user uploaded tapes before that point, some of them having been downloaded from Datpiff and then re-uploaded by random users. There was no explanation for why, neither from Datpiff or the Internet Archive. Was it an attempt to get Datpiff under some sort of control? Did that explain why the final number of uploaded mixtapes seems small, possibly having to do with some sort of server spatial limitations? What was going on? This write-up it's so mysterious, like who's behind the Datpiff problem? There was also the issue of what was being uploaded. For one, it was not the complete collection despite what was being promised. I will admit here that my methodology for checking was not as thorough as I'd like, so I ask for you to place a bit of faith in me. Multiple Currency mixtapes were not uploaded, same for Wiz Khalifa, Lil Wayne, and other big artists. The same goes for smaller artists that would not threaten the bottom line of any label. In the week between November 15 and November 22nd of 2022, the last time Datpiff.com was online between various system outages, I downloaded 2 projects by Sir John Lee, never heard of him, including one called Beats for Kendrick Lamar. Neither project appeared on the Datpiff archive, despite being on the site in the same week that it went offline. Things get stranger because long deleted mixtapes were suddenly available in this complete archive. Back in February of 2014, Michael Christmas, shoutout, deleted his fucking EP project before releasing Is This Art, as the EP was a high school project that didn't reflect his new style and sound. I fucked up and forgot to download it before it was deleted from Datpiff, and so for almost a decade, it was lost media for me, and to be clear, it was available nowhere else. I was able to download it from the archive as well as his first project, The Golden Toilet, which I didn't even know existed. Sean Christopher's I Wear Glasses 2 was available for download for the first time in more than a decade. Same goes for some early Khalees mixtapes back when he went by YC. Oh, YC the Cynic. Remember him? YC the Cynic changed his name to Khalees. Whoever was uploading the Datpiff archive seemed to have no way to judge what projects had been deleted from the main site and what ones had not. It was exciting to think of all the lost media that could be discovered once again, but it raised questions. Why were on-site mixtapes not uploaded to the archive but long deleted ones were? How are we defining complete? And why was it not announced that lost projects had the chance of returning to circulation? Yeah, a lot of mystery there for sure. Then, not long after I finished a major work project over the summer and could keep a better eye on Datpiff archive, disaster struck. It first began with Datpiff's uploaded content being halved in 24 hours and then drastically decreasing in the continuing day to about the number of tapes that now exist on Internet Archive's mixtapes archive, which, if you recall, is about 10,000. A few commenters found that the tapes were still available but were de-indexed. It was a worrying situation, but the worst was not yet to come, we hoped. My first post about the archive situation, of course, the worst came not long after. At the end of September 2024, I had to announce that the Datpiff archive was gone. This is somebody's Substack, by the way. Modhead Musings Substack. I had downloaded a number of mixtapes I had bookmarked during the few days of the de-index limbo period, only for them to vanish not long after. Along with everything else Datpiff had uploaded, there were 2 documents left on Datpiff's user page, though those were now gone too. Just like that, 366,000 plus mixtapes disappeared from the internet. Think of how much history that is, even though a lot of it is really shitty. I don't care how shitty a lot of it may be. It is history, guys. History. Lost, vanished, disappeared, blipped out of existence. Those of us participating on the r/hiphopheads threads, shout out, were pretty upset for reasons I'll discuss more momentarily. Normally for a story like this one, this would be the point where media reporting spreads the story wide and far, eventually putting pressure on someone, the Internet Archive, Datpiff, etc., to make some sort of statement. Hell, given that Datpiff's archival resurrection was the subject of multiple Hip Hop 50 reports and think pieces, one would think that might result in something. But in the end, I spoke with Manny Faces about the story, and that was it for media coverage. No major hip-hop outlet picked the story up, and even most independent journalists were quiet. One journalist for a bigger publication did reach out to me, but they were assigned to some big beats in 2025. I don't blame them for not having time to get something together. Still though, the ship had sailed and there were no answers. In the threads, we speculated that the whole ordeal arose because of lawsuit settlements that the archive had to navigate. Datpiff was probably a casualty. But there was not one fucking word said about a massive collection of an important piece of hip-hop's history by the vast majority of the genre's media. In fact, Andre Gee, who wrote Rolling Stone's article about the Datpiff archive when it first announced, retweeted someone towards the end of summer 2025 claiming the archive was alive and well, not taking even 10 seconds to check the archive to see that something had obviously gone horrifically wrong. What an idiot!
Within just a handful of days, we went from not being able to find anything to nothing being there. The Datpiff.
Who is this dweeb? I'm led to believe that this is the Jack Daniel. For some reason, he's talking about hip-hop.
Archive is gone.
Now, What we do have this tonight, which is different than other nights, is a bit of actual breaking news, and it has to do with
This is Hip Hop Can Save America with Manny Faces.
a very important aspect of hip hop culture, particularly when we talk about
Oh, this is the Substack guy. This is Mr. Substack.
Right.
Shout out.
So, with no real word on anything, though, we're completely in the dark. And so, I bugged Datpiff. I've occasionally tweeted at them from my personal Twitter, but nothing.
nothing. Yeah, I didn't get a response, but like I said, we emailed the Internet Archive, I guess, very, very early today, or kind of overnight into today.
Yeah.
Haven't heard anything back. I don't know if we would expect something that fast. If the Internet Archive is something that's staffed on a 24 hour basis, I'm not.
I don't know, but I do know that the Internet Archive is about to disappear. Let's see. Internet Archive getting deleted. AI overview here says the Internet Archive is not being entirely deleted, but is facing significant threats, including major copyright lawsuits, data removal requests, and technical issues. Following legal losses in 2025, over 500,000 books were removed from its library. While it remains active, the platform has faced glitches in 2024 that deleted user accounts and data. So yeah, it's not looking great for them. That includes like the Wayback Machine that lets you see the history of web pages, so people can't get caught lying. So if that were to go away, that would be pretty tragic.
Sure how exactly how it works.
Not only that, but given the legal issues that the archive is facing, they've had the fallout from their lawsuits, from book publishers, music publishers.
Movies.
Yeah, I think they've probably got their hands full legally right now. And one comment that was left just today from Lord High IQ III about 11 hours ago, they're indicating that they think that there was a mediation between the archives lawyers and music industry lawyers last week, stemming from a lawsuit that was launched last year for $400 million regarding old records that were uploaded. I have a feeling right now there's probably all sorts of legalese that's going to make it very difficult to get answers for a while. But it would be very nice if Datpiff would at least confirm that the original archive and collection still exists somewhere. We don't even have...
Right, and that's why I'm reporting on this, because we need to be talking about this. If you're a hip-hop fan, a hip-hop head, you got a Twitter, you got an Instagram, let's talk about this shit. Let's get an answer, at least get an answer from Datpiff. Does it still exist? Is it completely gone? Something. I'm gonna cut this segment up into its own video, post it with its own title, because we need to be talking about this. Put pressure on Datpiff to give us answers. We're talking about an entire era of hip-hop just vanished. One that we all supposedly love and care and treasure and cherish so much. We should be tearing down the doors about this shit. Still, even though it's kind of old news, but it's really not. It's not old news. More than a year later, the implications grow only more grave, with the continually worsening news, the most recent of which concerns the deletion of years of hip-hop articles. It's time to circle back to one of hip-hop's biggest, most neglected stories of the 2020s. Say goodbye to the music. We get the idea, but he goes on and on and on and on. Long live Datpiff.com, the mixtape authority. Modhead's Musings. So shout out Modhead. That's Mr. Jack Daniels here.
That confirmation.
He really cares.
He debuted this one.
These three white boys care. We do. We just want the shit to survive, right? And to be cherished and loved, as it should be. This shit as in that hip-hop music. You know what I'm talking about. We love hip-hop out here, folks, don't we? We love hip-hop out here. We eat it all up.